Well, did you check with Alberta first before you undertook this measure to protect Saskatchewan companies? The Construction Association has joined us today. They're the ones that are saying, Mr. Speaker, that there are some practices in Alberta that need to be addressed. That's exactly what the minister announced yesterday. No, we didn't check with Alberta. We defended the interests of the people of Saskatchewan.
The always emphatic Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall defending his government's move to ban trucks with Alberta license plates from working on Saskatchewan's future government road and infrastructure projects. Joining me now is Alberta's Economic Development Minister, Darren Billis. Mr. Billis, thanks so much for coming on. Sounds like Saskatchewan is getting ready for battle. How are you preparing?
Well, first of all, Brad Wall and Saskatchewan government need to smarten up, and they need to kill this ridiculous and discriminatory restriction. We had told them a couple of days ago that they would have 7 days to do the right thing, to remove this restriction. We know it's not trade compliant, and now we're down to 5 days that they have to come to their senses, and if they don't, then we'll be taking them to court.
So why that deadline? Why a 7-day deadline?
Well, first of all, I wanted to give them time to see that, and they know that this is non-trade compliant. The other thing that we're waiting for, so on the first day, before I even came out to talk to the media, I put in a call to two of Saskatchewan's ministers, their trade minister and their infrastructure transportation minister. Later that day, tried again a second time to get a hold of them, left phone numbers, cell numbers, and they still haven't returned my call. They still haven't picked up the phone yet. And so, what we were trying to do is to reach out to them to say, where are you getting your information? We do not have discriminatory practices against Saskatchewan contractors, companies, or vehicles. And now this move on their end is absolutely non-trade compliant, and we will be standing up for Alberta businesses, Alberta companies, and if they don't remove this, we will be taking them to court.
What's the big deal, though? Help us understand. I mean, why not get these vehicles registered in Saskatchewan with Saskatchewan plates?
Well, because, the way that our borders work, Alberta does a lot of trade. There's a lot of procurement that contracts that do go to Saskatchewan companies, Alberta companies. We don't want to make it more difficult. In fact, the New West partnership that was negotiated several years ago was put in place just for that, to remove barriers so that you have people who may live in Saskatchewan, drive across the border for work, and return home that day. So we're not about to make it even more difficult for them, costly, time-consuming. We know that we have and always have had the most open borders and open policy on trade than any other province in the country. And we, obviously are respecting the New West partnership. We do not have Brad Wall's accusations are false. They are not true. We do not, through government procurement, either limit who can bid on it or impose things like getting Alberta plates in order to work on Alberta job sites.
But, one of the accusations that Mr. Wall has leveled is that it's Alberta that's protectionist because, it's recently done things like change rules on craft beer taxes to help its own industry. And so really it's just protecting its own industry. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, again, we've had the most open policies, and whether that's even in the renegotiation of the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, Alberta has been the most open to trade out of any other jurisdiction, where you've got other jurisdictions that carve out whole sectors like energy. Alberta doesn't do that. As far as the craft brewery, we have been essentially subsidizing every company across this country for decades, where other provinces have their own programs that only apply to their companies. What we're trying to do is to give Alberta companies a level playing field, where again we still struggle to get our products into Saskatchewan's markets. I mean, you look at their liquor board; it's provincially controlled, and shelf space is almost impossible for our craft brewers to get on their shelves. So, if we want to talk about opening it up, then let's truly open it up and make sure that it's fair on both ends.
So 5 days from now, if Saskatchewan does not back down, what's Alberta's next step?
Well, the next step is that we then file there's a mechanism within the New West partnership. I believe it's Article 4 of that agreement, and we'll be filing to take them to court over this unfair trade practice.
So you'll sue?
Essentially. I mean, we're going to take them to court. We're also going to look at other potentially other actions that we can take. I mean, Saskatchewan really needs to smarten up here. They need to pick up the phone and reach out to us. I can tell you that, this tit for tat, I don't think is very productive. I'd like to see, frankly, the Western provinces get together to look at how can we enhance trade in general? How do we improve our trade corridors and really look to the world as, that's the stage and that's who we should be competing with, not between interprovincial spats. And so my hope is that they will recognize this is non-trade compliant. We're not going to have to go through the whole process and get lawyers, and obviously it's costly, it's time consuming. What we want to see is the removal of barriers and really promote trade as a Western bloc with the international community. And so there's real potential for us to enhance trade. We need to be looking at other markets, especially right now, and looking at how we can increase our market share, how we can get our products to Tidewater. And I really wished that Brad Wall and the Saskatchewan government would recognize the same.
A trade battle within Canada's borders. Minister, thanks so much. Appreciate your time.